A number of you are ready to take that very first flight of the new year or that very first international flight. So you reached out to me with a few questions after our last video. If you've not seen it, I've linked the video to the international travel mistakes that are most common in the description box down below. Hi guys, if you're new here, my name is Lori and the channel is GlobeTrotterLori. Welcome to our teaching and learning community where the goal is to educate, motivate, and inspire each other about all things travel related. If you love travel, then this is the channel for you, so please consider subscribing and sticking around to learn and to, share about all things travel related. In the previous video, one of the international travel mistakes I shared was about waiting on long lines. And my solution to that was global entry. Well, a few of you asked about, well, what's the difference between global entry and pre-check? Really, what's the price? What's the process? Is it worth it? And all of that. So I decided that in this video, I'll do a brief comparison between global entry and TSA Precheck. In fact, I'll tell you my opinion at the very end of the video, but you can probably tell from the title of the video what my opinion is. So I'll go through the details here and then you'll figure out really quickly why I said what I said. In addition, I'm going to give you my experience of how it was for me going through the Trusted Traveler program, and I'll give you whatever shortcuts and tips that I can. So I'll have you up and flying in no time. TSA Precheck and Global Entry are both Trusted Traveler programs. As far as the scope, TSA Precheck is about domestic departures from US airports, whereas Global Entry is regarding international arrivals at US airports. The cost of TSA Precheck is $78. It went down from $85 recently. And the cost for Global Entry is $100. However, Global Entry includes TSA Precheck. More on that later. The benefits for TSA Precheck: there are shorter lines when you are departing from, again, US airports. Your laptops may remain in your bag. Your shoes and belt may remain on. Food and small amounts of liquids can remain in your bags. The benefits for Global Entry: you can have an expedited customs screening if there are those facilities at the airport at which you're arriving. As far as the benefits duration, they both last about 5 years for the fee that you pay. As far as participating airport, at the time of the recording of this video, there are approximately 200 airports participating in the TSA Precheck program. If you go to the website tsa.gov, there's an interactive map on the site, so you can click on your state, click on your region, and see if your airport participates in TSA Precheck. Also, note that TSA Precheck lines are not up all of the time when the airport is open. The lines may be closed at certain times. So if you're leaving on a very early flight or a very late flight, you may not have access to the TSA Precheck line. So if you're counting on that and you're arriving late at the airport, counting that you can just whisk through TSA Precheck, like I like to do, then you need to make sure that you plan ahead. As far as Global Entry, there are approximately 53 US participating airports and 13 pre-clearance international sites. Enrollment center locations: there are approximately 300 plus enrollment center locations for TSA Precheck. Note that quite recently, the TSA announced that you can go to participating Staples locations for your enrollment, for your interview, so to speak. They call it an interview, but we'll talk about that later as well. Global Entry, there are approximately 100 enrollment center locations. For the TSA Precheck program, you need to be a US citizen or a US lawful permanent resident in order to qualify minimally for the program. Whereas for Global Entry, you need to be a US citizen, a US lawful permanent resident, or certain select foreign nationals. Is a passport required for each one of these? For TSA Precheck, no, a passport is not required. You can have a driver's license or another form of picture ID. For Global Entry, absolutely a passport is required. As we discussed in the international travel mistakes video, you need a passport for international flights. So you need a passport for Global Entry. The application process for both TSA Precheck and Global Entry are online. Other documentation that's required for Global Entry: you need an additional picture ID, like your driver's license. You'll need that number to enter in the online application site. You need your residential history, so know all of your previous addresses where you lived. You need to be able to list your work history, all the countries that you visited in the last 5 years. They're basically going to run a background check on you. So you need to have that information readily available. The age of eligibility. Now, this is where there's a lot of confusion for some people. Children under the age of 12 may go through with a parent or guardian who also has TSA Precheck through the expedited screening process. Through the line, shoes remain on, all of that. However, for global entry, only children under the age of 2 years old may go through the expedited customs process with a parent or guardian who has global entry. Everyone over the age of 2 must have their own global entry number. Is a background check required for TSA Precheck and global entry? Absolutely, yes. For TSA Precheck, it may take days to weeks for you to get your KTN number or your known traveler number. As far as the global entry process, you may get your KTN number before you get the card, but it's usually a 2 to 6 month wait is what some people have been reporting. However, your miles may vary with this. Are there available discounts? Yes, absolutely. And I will talk to you about that also in a little while. My personal experience. First, I didn't know about global entry when I applied for TSA Precheck. I went online, I filled out the information. If you go to the website, you'll see that the TSA.gov website does not have global entry listed there. Or at least it did not when I went to apply for mine online. And so I applied, went through the process, filled out all of the information. I did it for my son at the same time. I was able to input those into our frequent traveler systems and the various websites, Expedia and Travelocity, and save them in all of the downloaded apps for the airlines that I have. Because you can have TSA Precheck and go through the line, but you didn't put that number into your airline information when you booked your flight. And if it's not on your boarding pass, you will not be allowed in the TSA Precheck line. You will have to go back through. I don't care what you say. Look, I have my KTN card. Look, I have my number on this email or that. They say if it's not on your boarding pass, then you are not allowed through the TSA Precheck line. You will be asked to kindly go to the longer line, the maze that everyone else is on. So make sure that you enter it at the time of your booking, or at least save it into your profile, into those sites or apps where you frequently book your flights. Okay, so that was my experience with TSA Precheck. With global entry, I went online, so I paid the $85, yes, the first time for TSA Precheck. And then I went on to global entry and I tried to see if there was a way for me to have what I paid, because it was basically a year later, maybe, where I can have that amount applied to the $100 for global entry. Not a chance. So save your money and just, if you know you're going to take at least one trip internationally in the next 5 years, go for the global entry. Save your time, save your money, save your headache, and go for global entry. Because again, you get TSA Precheck as a part of global entry. And having TSA Precheck before you have global entry will not have that amount of money that you spent prior applied to global entry. So I paid $185 to have global entry and TSA Precheck together instead of just $100. I paid the money online and I got an appointment scheduled for a few weeks out. There were no areas close to me. I think I had one area that had an appointment about 3 hours away. And basically, even if you have someplace close to you that does the global entry enrollment interviews, there may be no appointments available for a long time. Everyone's back outside, everyone's traveling, everyone wants to go somewhere. So you may have to look around for different places. So I had my appointment scheduled, and here's a pro tip. Log on every day. Keep logging on, keep logging on, keep logging on, because you may find that someone canceled an appointment for an interview and you may be able to cancel your pre-scheduled appointment and get into that sooner than a closer appointment. But what I did, another pro tip, I took advantage of the enrollment upon arrival, where I was returning from a solo trip overseas, and I requested when I arrived at the US airport that I go through the expedited process, the enrollment upon arrival process. I had with me my documentation. I skipped the line that everyone else was on. I approached a customs agent and they took me to an area where I waited for one of the personnel behind the desk to call me forward and interview me, asking me questions. So I was asked to show the agent my conditional approval letter, my passport. He asked some questions. What's my name, my full name? I gave my full government name. I also gave information. He asked where I was born, in which country was I born, in which area was I born, was I a citizen of any other countries? Did I have citizenship in any other countries? I answered no. I don't know if that would affect whether or not you get global entry. I don't know personally. You may want to, do a little bit of Google schmoogling around the internet, do some research and find out. And he also asked what countries I had visited in the previous 5 years. And I told him which countries I had visited in the previous 5 years because I had already done my research and knew that he was going to ask that question. And that was that. And he took a picture and did the digital fingerprinting, and that was that. I was sent on my merry way. And then a few weeks later, I received a card in the mail. Your card comes in a sleeve like this. I recommend that you keep the card in the sleeve because it is meant to protect you from anyone trying to scan it for any reason, like the RFID, I think it is. It has an RFID blocker. So it has a barcode on the back, and then you have global entry written on the top. And this is a perfectly fine picture ID for a lot of different reasons, because it's a federal ID basically. So inside the pouch, as you can see, has a silver lining. So that's the RFID blockers in there. So I keep this with my passport at all times, because if I need my passport, then more than likely I'm going to need this. So I keep this with my passport inside of a passport holder. Another pro tip, check your current credit cards, bank cards, credit unions, etc., to see if they offer a benefit of giving you some cash credit towards the global entry program. I'm going to try to link some in the description box that currently do provide such a program. A lot of them will give you a credit of $100 every 5 years towards global entry. So again, why not get global entry for free if you can, instead of paying for TSA Precheck alone, when you can get global entry and Precheck by just going for global entry? Why not? So the other thing I will say is, please do not just go and apply for credit cards just to get this benefit, because honestly, I don't want anyone getting into any kind of credit borrowing debt situation. And also with your credit cards, I know none of mine do, because I don't pay any annual fees currently on any of my credit cards. And I think it's usually those that you pay annual fees on where there may be this benefit added. So it's usually certain premium cards, certain premium American Express cards, Chase Sapphire Preferred card, and those kinds of things. So you may have to look into that for your individual situation. If you're not planning on traveling internationally soon and you wish to go through the process for global entry, then what you should do is, again, check the site every day. Try to get an appointment scheduled closer or as soon as you need. Also, make sure that you bring your conditional approval letter with you. Bring something that proves your address. So a current utility bill, a light bill, a water bill, cable bill, I don't know. One of those things with you, a few of those things, just to be on the safe side. Your miles may vary. The person who is interviewing you may not ask you any kinds of questions related to those kinds of things. They may just simply ask to see your ID, but they may go into greater detail. But my advice is to be honest. Be honest about everything. If you have a pending child support case, be honest. If you have anything else that's potentially troublesome in your history, in your past, in your present, be honest. Because that alone, being dishonest, even about something that may not have disqualified you, being dishonest will disqualify you. So be honest about whatever they ask you. Answer only the questions they ask you. Don't ramble nervously. So don't be nervous. Be calm. It's not really an interview. It's just 2 or 3 simple questions that they ask you. And then they take your picture and they take your ID. Usually if you get the conditional approval letter, then you're pretty much, I'm not gonna say guaranteed, but you're pretty much safe to say that you will be approved for the entire process, unless you completely, mess it up. Bring your passport, bring another form of ID, bring your proof of address. Be honest during the interview. Don't be nervous. Answer honestly. Already have, if you have forgotten all of the addresses where you lived previously, bring those addresses with you again. Bring your job history with you again, and just be confident. That's it. Don't act nervous. Well, that's it. I told you it was going to be a very quick tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something from this video. If you love travel as much as I do, please again consider subscribing to the channel, giving this video a thumbs up, and sharing this video with other people who love travel as much as we do. Until next time, remember, value experiences over things, because travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer. Thank you so very much for watching. Ciao.